Next, we're going to take a look at how to load images in our HTML. So you'll notice I have a couple new tabs up here at the top of my browser. The first one is where I can look to obtain images. I'm going to use an image of a donut. This is the site pexels.com. Really good resource for free stock photos. A lot of them are royalty free. You can kind of use them however you like. So check it out, pexels.com. It's a good resource. And basically, I've grabbed an image here and I've uploaded it to Imager because I'm going to be linking directly to the image. That's why I've uploaded it here to Imager. So what we can do is we're going to learn about the image element. And I'll just put it at the bottom for now. Keeping in mind there is some importance in terms of where you place it in your page, because if you want your image to appear before a list or after a list or before something else or after something else, generally you want to space out your HTML in a logical way. Because when I put it down here, it's going to be at the very bottom. If I put it up here, it would be at the top, right? So it does matter where you put your image. In any case, here is how we can load an image. So we use an image tag for that, img. An image tag is a little bit different from some of these other tags we've seen because it doesn't actually wrap anything. Like for example, this li wraps this text, right? Because there's a closing tag and an opening tag. Image doesn't wrap anything. You just give it basically a URL of the image you want it to load. Now, this could be a relative file, right? You might have it in your file system. Or it could be an absolute URL, which is what I'm going to be loading because this is an external site. It's going to go to http:// some URL to get this image. So image takes a source, src. And this is something we haven't seen before. This is an attribute. So in this element, there's an attribute called source, and attributes look like this. So they have basically a keyword and then an equal sign. And then in quotes, you give it the attribute you want to use. So I want to give it a URL here. I want to give it the URL directly to this image so that it goes ahead. It's going to go to this site, grab the image, and load it up. And the HTML markup basically says, hey, this is an image. I want you to load this as an image. And because it's actually not wrapping anything, we can close this image right away. Without a closing image tag. So let's go ahead and let's figure out how to get this URL. Probably the easiest way is just to kind of go on Imager anyway. Go to Get Share Links, grab one of these links here. I usually just grab this bottom right one, and this is how you can get the URL to the image. Note that I don't actually need, or I can't actually use the closing bracket or the opening pieces. So I'll show you what I mean by that. If I try to paste that in, like so, it doesn't like this stuff. So it just wants the URL. So I'm going to get rid of that stuff and just have the URL. And if I scroll down, you see that it has gone ahead and grabbed the image for me, and it loaded it up. Right? And we didn't do any styling on it, so it's just the original image size that it loads in. And you notice I don't even have a closing tag on my image. It's kind of common to see a slash here just to kind of keep the rest of your code consistent, but technically it's not required because this, again, image is not wrapping another element. You just give it an attribute, which is the source. Right? And if we check this out, we can see it's a URL, right? It goes to http:// and then the URL here ending in .jpg. So it understands that this is going to be an image file. It goes ahead and loads up the image. And HTML elements can have multiple attributes as well. Another common attribute you see with images is alt text, which you can denote like this. So I'm just going to add another attribute called alt. And this is basically text that is loaded if your image fails to load, for example. Or if someone is using an assistive device like a screen reader, they can read the alt text to figure out what the image is. So if you do have alt text, it's usually worthwhile to give a little small description of what the image is. So you can say, sprinkle donut, for example. And you don't really see it right off the bat, but if you were to, say, make a mistake in your URL here, or your image fails to load, right, let's take out a letter here and see what happens. Right, you've probably seen this before on the web. This is our alt text. So the text loads up, but the image failed to load. So it's kind of like a just in case type thing. So if the image fails to load, you'll see the alt text. And if someone is using an assistive device and they want to get a description of the image, that's kind of what the alt attribute is for.